enemy in front of him looks proud because he managed to cripple his opponent. The man with wings and horns on his forehead is known as Yuki. The man now claims to be a demon. But before becoming his current figure, Yuki was just an ordinary human whose full name was Sagawa Yuki. Yuki has new abilities due to his reincarnation. Usually, people will be reborn as humans, but Yuki did not expect if he was reborn as a demon. Now the enemies in front of him are known as the Hero Party. Currently, he was in the middle of the Demon King's room. This means that Yuki is actually just a no-boss. The world will continue to be plagued by chaos if all heroes continue to lose, especially if it was discovered that the one who defeated the heroes was a mid-boss. Yuki was sure that it would make the whole world into an uproar. Therefore, he thought of making the world better. It was a thought that did not reflect the devil at all. Looking at his fallen opponents on the floor, Yuki intended to heal them. After healing them, Yuki would report to the Demon King that all the heroes escaped. Now in front of him was a hero named Yuga. It was known that Yuga had recently attacked him by using magic power with his chuni, but Yuki was not to be outdone. He countered the hero with his chuni. Yuki uses magic that produces an extraordinary explosion. Actually, Yuki was confused. Which hero should be healed first? A hero named Makana looks very annoying in Yuki's eyes, because the hero actually continued to stick with Yuga from before the fight started. Yuki finally decided to beat Makana with his power. The next hero is Raven. He is a hero with a character that is too perfect. Besides being handsome, Raven is a warrior. He also looks cold and quiet, so that makes the man look even more charming. Because Yuki felt jealous of the hero, at the beginning of the battle, Yuki immediately used high-level magic to make Raven immediately disappear from his eyes. That made Yuga and Makana very surprised. Actually, what Yuki did was only say the disappear spell, so that Raven's existence could not be seen by anyone. Seeing Makana and Yuga who were confused, Yuki immediately activated the next magic by blasting both of them using magic. Only one hero remained, a cleric named Cecilia. Yuki attacked the hero by running behind Cecilia's body and making the girl fall down. When he saw that the girl was unharmed, Yuki decided not to use healing spells. But the problem was now, Cecilia was in his grasp. Yuki thought that he could do anything to the beautiful heroine. Yuki was very happy to meet Cecilia. He didn't expect that in the hero party there was a very sweet girl. Yuki intended to make Cecilia a prisoner of war, but if he does so, then the Demon King will be angry, although indeed he has the power of cheats to be able to defeat the Demon King. Yuki then asked his subordinates to bring Cecilia carefully. 3 days passed after Yuki defeated the 4 hero parties. It turns out that after that incident, the heroes were very unhappy with Yuki's behavior. They challenged the devil to fight again, while Yuki just chuckled while saying that the 4 heroes were very stupid and couldn't read the situation. Yuki said it was very easy for him to defeat the 4 heroes. The devil also mentioned that he would soon send them all to hell. With a very high sense of confidence, Yuki introduced his name by using magic power called Max Chuni. Yuki finally started attacking the 4 heroes, but he seemed to be playing around. That made the hero party become annoyed. Yuki muttered, this time maybe he should attack with all his might. Meanwhile, Yuki suddenly met eyes with Cecilia. The demon felt very happy. Quickly, Yuki activated his power, which made Yuga surprised. Cecilia was knocked down by the demon's attack. He made sure that the beautiful heroine was okay. He also wondered if Cecilia had used a magic barrier to protect herself. After attacking the heroes, Yuki was always kind enough to heal them all. After that, he would order his men to dispose of the 4 heroes in a nearby village. Not long after the incident, about a month after the last battle, Yuki returned to fight with the 4 heroes again. Because it kept repeating, the Demon King came to think that the hero army was very weak. Yuki, who knew that, became very guilty. Because actually the 4 heroes could have defeated the Demon King directly. In front of Yuki, there are now 2 heroes, Yuga and Makana. Makana told Yuga to immediately end the boring fight with Yuki. Yuki felt a little annoyed because he was called a boring person. Yuki also looked into the eyes of ravens who continued to stare at him with a cold stare. Meanwhile, Cecilia still looked the same. The heroine always looked adorable in Yuki's eyes. But Yuki knew that this time the heroes wouldn't be able to defeat him either. This can happen because Yuki has cunning skills, so that he can make the fighting spirit of the heroes weaken. Yuki suddenly said in front of the 4 heroes, if they would never be able to defeat him. Yuki also said that they should let Cecilia be with him, then Yuki would let Raven, Yuga and Makana live. Yuga, who heard that, was very upset. Yuga said that they were all fighting for people who were suffering. Likewise, Raven, who heard Yuki's words, became emotional. Yuga said that he would not let Cecilia be hurt by Yuki, because for Yuga, Cecilia is a very valuable friend. Meanwhile, Makana actually said that the hero team should accept the devil's offer. Yuga wondered why his colleague said so. While Yuki just enjoyed the debate between the heroes, Makana tells Yuga that Yuki has extraordinary strength, even though his face looks doubtful. Yuga shouted that he could not imagine leaving Cecilia alone with the devil. But Makana continued to assure Yuga that Cecilia would be fine. Makana also suggested that they immediately go defeat the Demon King, then return to save Cecilia. Yuga finally agreed with the suggestion. Yuga asked Cecilia to stay with Yuki. The mid-boss was happy because he could finally be alone with Cecilia. Now he felt very nervous. Yuki's heart seemed to be jumping out. Meanwhile, Cecilia herself had no intention of giving up. She said she would fight Yuki with all her strength and even her life. But suddenly Yuki shouted for Cecilia to stop her intention. The hero did not understand the meaning of Yuki's words. Cecilia was sure surely the devil wanted to mock her before ending her life. Suddenly Yuki revealed his feelings in front of Cecilia. The demon said that he fell in love at first sight with Cecilia. He also asked Cecilia to go on a date with him. Cecilia was very surprised by the expression of feelings conveyed by Yuki. She immediately bowed and apologized for not accepting the devil's feelings. Yuki felt that his pride as a man had been scratched. Cecilia confirmed whether the demon was okay. Yuki said he would rather die than feel embarrassed for being rejected by Cecilia. Cecilia still felt that Yuki was playing with her. Meanwhile, the demon showed a face that looked very happy because it was anxious to see Cecilia's angry face. Cecilia tried to attack the demon, but the demon did not give any counterattack. Cecilia was surprised and asked Yuki why the man did not turn around to attack her. With a sad face, Yuki stated that he felt very bored in the center room of the Demon King's castle, especially if you have to keep attacking humans. Yuki said, actually, he didn't want to attack humans at all. Cecilia was surprised by Yuki's attitude. The heroine said that this was the first time she had seen a demon like Yuki. Yuki explained that in his previous life he was a human. Then he reincarnated as a demon. Cecilia asked if what the demon said was true. Cecilia doubted if Yuki was telling the truth. Cecilia also confirmed to the demon, shouldn't it be no problem if Yuki can cooperate with humans? But Yuki actually answered, would Cecilia believe him if he said he was a human ally? After hearing Yuki's story, the hero asked why Yuki didn't just defeat the Demon King, but Yuki replied that it was a waste of time and no fun. Yuki said, it was actually easy for him to defeat the Demon King, but Yuki believes he will be appointed as the next Demon King. Yuki said, he really hates that because he will continue to be confined in the castle. Yuki said he didn't want to be a hikikomori and live a very boring lifestyle. Therefore, Yuki confessed that she would rather end her life now than have to live a very boring life. The demon also believes that Cecilia's 3 friends can defeat the Demon King. But suddenly, Cecilia said that Yuki should not waste his second chance at life. Cecilia asked if the devil would lend his strength to help humanity. Cecilia also mentioned that the demon was very strong. So Cecilia believes that with Yuki's strength, he can turn into a human and live with humans. Cecilia held out her hand and invited Yuki to come with her to the outside world. And on the same day, finally the Demon King was defeated by Yuga, Raven, and Makana. Since that day, the world has returned to peace. After defeating the Demon King, the heroes returned to their hometown of Minerva. There, they were greeted with great fanfare by the residents. News of their victory over the Demon King spread very quickly. Even to celebrate the victory of the heroes, our citizens of Minerva also held a parade. On the day of the heroes' return, Yuki also came to the Minerva Adventurers Guild. He wondered, was it true that the building he saw now was the place he was looking for? Because he was successfully persuaded by Cecilia, Yuki finally went to Minerva using the map given by Cecilia. Cecilia also made news to the heroes that Yuki was dead. Yuki finally greeted and said that he wanted to register as a member of the guild. Someone in the guild said, why would anyone want to register as a member when the heroes' parade was taking place? Yuki entered the guild and saw a man guarding the guild. In Yuki's eyes, the man looked very sad, like a dead fish. The demon wondered if the man was okay. The man named Creeman yawned when he saw Yuki's arrival. He said that all the guild staff were out and about participating in the parade to welcome the heroes. Creeman wondered what to do when there were people who wanted to enroll as guild members. Creeman felt very annoyed that the subordinates deliberately took the day off using the excuse of seeing the heroes. Yuki, who heard that, just muttered that Creeman shouldn't say such an annoying word in front of a client. Creeman then gave Yuki a form. Creeman asked Yuki to fill out everything on the form completely. He also said that after signing, the guild would not be responsible for Yuki's death. Creeman then checked the form that Yuki had filled out. He made sure that the boy had filled it out correctly. After that, Creeman gave Yuki the membership card and asked Yuki to keep the card, because if the card was lost, it would be very troublesome for Creeman, because he was the one who had to take care of it. Creeman also explained that the process to make a membership card was very complicated and difficult for him. Hearing Creeman's explanation, Yuki nodded in understanding. Yuki didn't understand why Creeman was acting so strange. Yuki also mentioned that Creeman really hated working. Creeman also reminded Yuki to do her best for the next 3 days. That's because the staff are still taking a vacation. Finally, inevitably, Yuki did everything ordered by his new boss. Now that he was lying on the bed, Yuki was determined to make a confession once again to Cecilia after his situation was established. Yuki was very impatient to see Cecilia again. He was sure that Cecilia would accept his love someday. A week finally passed, and during that time Yuki worked on many requests in the guild that allowed him to quickly level up to D-Adventurer. During that time, Yuki also worked hard to complete many requests and submitted his work to Creeman, which made the man very upset. But strangely, despite Creeman's constant protests to Yuki, Creeman always did a good job. While Creeman and Yuki were chatting, suddenly came Cecilia, who surprised the two men. Creeman wondered what the beautiful hero was doing in his place. Cecilia came to the Minerva Adventure Guild to meet Yuki. She apologized to Yuki for only being able to meet him. Cecilia did not expect that the hero's victory celebration would last long enough. Yuki smiled while saying that Cecilia didn't need to apologize to him. Yuki stated that he was also learning to get used to being in a new world. But Yuki also thanked Cecilia for trying to apologize. Cecilia did not expect that she could find Yuki so quickly, because at first, she thought it would be difficult to find Yuki in disguise. Yuki asked if there was a problem going on. Cecilia shook her head while stating that there was no problem with it. But what made Cecilia wonder why Yuki didn't change his name at all? With confidence, Yuki stated that he had changed his appearance. Yuki also admitted that he had tried hard to endure the pain of pulling out the horns and breaking her 2 wings. But Cecilia stated if the 3 hero friends already knew the face of Yuki. After that, Cecilia invited Yuki to visit a mansion. There they were both greeted by someone. Yuki was very surprised by the magnificent mansion building. But suddenly a mansion guard extended their sword towards Yuki and asked who the man was. They asked why Yuki dared to approach the hero. This had happened twice. When he left the guild, everyone was also talking about him. They felt very curious about Yuki's identity. Cecilia suddenly shouted for the mansion guards to immediately lower their spear swords. Cecilia introduced Yuki as her friend. Yuki guessed that everyone must be thinking that he didn't fit together with Cecilia at all. Finally, Cecilia and Yuki were now sitting opposite each other. Cecilia suddenly said, could Yuki leave the guild? Yuki was very surprised to hear Cecilia's request, even though it was the woman who told him to go in there. Yuki also felt that the request was very sudden. Yuki was confused why she was ordered him to leave the guild, even though Yuki had not been working at that place for long. Cecilia asked Yuki to listen to her explanation, that the Demon King was indeed dead. But Cecilia stated, there were still threats coming from other demons. Yuki understood what Cecilia was talking about, because even though the Demon King is gone, surely the monsters are now still acting and making chaos. Cecilia also explained that problems did not only come because of the demons, but also from various countries. Cecilia said that currently a military country called the Garrus State is arming its troops, and at the same time, they also started recruiting talented people. One of the heroes mentioned by Cecilia was a male hero who had many offers to marry their daughter. Cecilia also explained that it did not only apply to the heroes, but also the hero party. Yuki, who heard that, immediately confirmed to Cecilia that the beautiful heroine must have gotten a lot of offers. Cecilia nodded while saying that she certainly got it. But Cecilia stated that she had rejected them all subtly. Cecilia then said that Yuki could also become famous. Therefore, Cecilia asked Yuki to work privately with her. Yuki knew the meaning of Cecilia's words. If he can work with Cecilia, then he will not be too famous. Then Yuki asked how much the hero dared to pay him. Cecilia looked down while saying that she probably wouldn't be able to pay the amount of Yuki's strength that was equivalent to an S-level adventurer. But the beautiful heroine suddenly made an expression that Yuki couldn't bear to see. Realizing that it was very dangerous, Yuki babbled that he really wanted his love to be avenged, but he didn't want Cecilia to tease him like that. For Yuki, defeating other countries is a very easy thing, because what is difficult is to resist the temptation of the hero. Yuki unconsciously also stated that he had extraordinary cheat power. Yuki immediately realized that he had just made a confession in front of the girl. The man immediately shouted and said that he was completely unaware that he had used Chunabu mode. Meanwhile, Cecilia, who heard this, could only laugh out loud at the devil's behavior. Yuki was so embarrassed that he apologized for letting go. Cecilia also did the same thing because she had laughed at Yuki. Cecilia apologized to Yuki for laughing at the man. The hero now believed that Yuki was really a human because she thought there was no way a demon would make such a funny joke. After that, Cecilia said goodbye to Yuki because she had something to do. Cecilia said hopefully they would meet again soon in the near future. But before Cecilia left, the devil asked Cecilia a request. Yuki asked if he could call Cecilia by her first name. Cecilia smiled sweetly while saying of course Yuki could do it. The hero also said that he would call Yuki. Yuki felt very happy that day. He really wanted to meet Cecilia again. He felt that now their relationship was getting closer. The next day, on a very sunny morning, Yuki intended to meet Cecilia again, but it turned out that the mansion guards did not let Yuki in because the hero was in a meeting. Finally, Yuki decided to go to the city. But when he got there, he saw a lot of people crowding around. Yuki felt curious about what was going on. He saw the figure of a person he knew. That man was none other than Raven the hero party. Yuki knew that the hero was in trouble, and for some reason, Yuki's soul was called to help him. Yuki suddenly shouted very loudly that he saw a hero. The crowd immediately ran in the direction pointed out by Yuki. Meanwhile, Yuki immediately approached Raven and asked the man to run away immediately, but the hero just kept quiet and didn't give an answer. Yuki did not expect the hero to still act cool and cold. Yuki muttered. He also did not expect a thank you from the hero. Yuki decided to leave there immediately, but suddenly Raven called out to him. Yuki was surprised because the hero made his voice. He even made sure to ask Raven if the man had just spoken to him. Yuki did not expect that the hero who acted cool had a voice similar to anime. Yuki now understood why Raven never spoke. It was probably because he felt embarrassed to open his mouth. Raven asked if Yuki didn't want to mock his voice. Yuki was a little surprised by the question. The demon said that it wasn't Raven's fault. Raven said that Yuki was a different person for not mocking his voice. Yuki guessed that the man must be struggling with his voice problem, and guessed that maybe that was the reason why he didn't talk much. Yuki said he would never laugh at Raven because he had already met someone like Raven just smiled at the demon's words. Feeling that his business with Raven was over, Yuki then decided to leave. But suddenly, Raven called him and said if Yuki wanted to be his friend. Yuki was quite surprised to hear that. Was over, Yuki then decided to leave. But suddenly, Raven called him and said if Yuki wanted to be his friend. Yuki was quite surprised to hear that. Raven explained that the only people who didn't laugh at his voice were his mother and his cousin. Therefore, if Yuki didn't mind, Raven wanted to be friends with Yuki. Yuki smiled at Raven's words. He then extended his hand and was warmly welcomed by Raven. Raven thanked Yuki for being his friend. Raven also felt honored to be able to meet Yuki. The two men finally shook hands. Meanwhile, Yuki muttered that finally, after 20 years since he was reincarnated, he could make a friend. Finally, Yuki returned to the guild. There he was having breakfast. Next to him was a very beautiful woman. The woman said that the food in the guild was very delicious. Yuki continued to eat his breakfast without paying attention to what the woman said. The woman suddenly brought her face closer to Yuki and made the man surprised. Yuki just realized that there was a beautiful woman. He wondered who she was because he didn't seem to remember meeting her. Yuki didn't even realize when the woman appeared. Suddenly the woman said that Yuki did look very attractive just like her daughter said. The woman then introduced herself as Celia Aquarain. To be precise, the woman was Cecilia's mother. Celia greeted Yuki and was very happy to meet the boy. Yuki was very surprised to hear that Celia was the mother of the girl he liked. He also didn't expect Celia to look so young and beautiful. After learning that the woman beside her was Cecilia's mother, Yuki immediately asked if there was anything that the mother wanted to discuss with him. Celia confirmed whether Yuki really liked her daughter. The mother also asked how far the relationship between the two of them had gone. Yuki was very surprised to hear the question from Cecilia's mother. Yuki said that they were just friends. The mother immediately breathed a sigh of relief because she had misunderstood Yuki. The mother said if she did not want her daughter to have a relationship with a masher, then the mother immediately invited Yuki to leave the guild immediately. Yuki did not understand the meaning of the mother's words. While smiling, Celia said that Yuki must really want to see her daughter at the mansion. With a face full of enthusiasm, Yuki of course immediately agreed to her mother's invitation. Once in front of the mansion, Yuki said that he was afraid of the two guards guarding the gate. Celia apologized because the two guards had been rude. But Celia said, now Yuki doesn't need to worry because the guard has been reprimanded by the butler. Celia also told that the butler used to be an A-rank repeater, but for whatever reason, that woman decided to become a butler. Yuki guessed that the butler must have a very great ability. Celia continued to say that the butler was quite scary because she once fought with her husband and made him injured and took about 5 months to recover. Yuki, who heard that, was immediately surprised, but Celia also stated that the butler's husband was an A-rank, and when she knew husband was injured by her, the butler immediately took care of him with affection. Unexpectedly, the butler came to welcome Celia and Yuki. Celia said that she had just discussed the butler with Yuki. The butler confirmed to the lady whether Yuki was their guest. The lady then introduced herself as Sophia. Yuki welcomed the introduction, and he saw that the butler still looked normal. Celia then asked if Sophia had finished what she was told to do. Sophia replied that she hadn't finished it yet, and still needed a lot of time. Sophia also asked how many bones she had to break. Hearing the conversation between the two women, Yuki muttered that he should withdraw his words. Sophia then invited Yuki to tour Celia's mansion. But the mother suddenly called Cecilia, who was still wearing a nightgown. Yuki was very surprised to see Cecilia's very seductive appearance. Meanwhile, the girl screamed in embarrassment because she didn't know if Yuki was in their house. Celia, who saw the child's behavior, could only laugh. Meanwhile, Yuki now fell to the floor because he could not hold back the feelings in his chest. The man said that the girl had bewitched him. Cecilia finally came out to meet Celia and Yuki with neat clothes. Celia asked the child to forgive Yuki because Yuki didn't know that Cecilia was still in a mess. Meanwhile, Cecilia blamed her mother for deliberately planning it. Celia just chuckled at her daughter's words. Yuki was curious why he was brought to the mansion by Celia. Celia stated that a few days ago, she saw Yuki and Cecilia chatting casually. Yuki was very surprised. He was afraid that Cecilia's mother would hear the contents of their conversation. Celia smiled and nodded while saying the words spoken by Yuki, that Cecilia was the only person on Yuki's mind. Yuki felt very embarrassed and wanted to leave there immediately. Celia said, now is the time to talk about the real issue. Celia began to open the conversation that until today, her daughter had received a lot of marriage proposals based on political marriages. Yuki nodded and said that Cecilia had told him about it the other day. Celia also stated that a very famous hero had also proposed to Cecilia. That made Yuki very surprised. But the mother stated that Cecilia had refused the request. But Celia also told Yuki that the hero had not yet given up. Hearing that made Yuki feel very upset. He didn't expect that the hero would never give up. Yuki's temper suddenly exploded. The man also said that there were a lot of girls chasing the hero. He felt very upset and shouted he would not lose to the hero. Celia, who heard this, laughed while mentioning that the demon must really like his daughter to be able to curse the hero. Yuki quickly replied that it was true. Then the mother asked Yuki a question, whether the man would marry Cecilia. Cecilia, who heard that, was very surprised. Celia continued to urge Yuki to answer her question. Yuki was confused, but he knew that this was an opportunity that might not come twice. Yuki bowed his head while saying that he was sorry that he couldn't accept the offer now. Yuki stated that he had already been rejected once by Cecilia. Therefore, Yuki wanted to become successful first, and then confess his feelings again to the idol. Yuki continued his explanation, that he was honestly very happy to be offered such a wonderful opportunity by his mother. But he also feels if he is now not appropriate for Cecilia. Hearing Yuki's answer, Celia asked the boy to stop what he was saying. She also said that Yuki had passed her exams. She also stated that it was impossible to immediately give her daughter to someone she had just met. Yuki was surprised because it turned out that he was trapped twice by Celia. Celia asked Yuki to be a good friend to her daughter. She also said that the people of the mansion were happy to welcome Yuki. Yuki replied firmly that he would remember the message from Celia. The man muttered that it seemed like he already had Celia's blessing. Finally, Yuki decided to keep working at the guild. Currently, she was in a forest called Orcel. Yuki received a request from a customer to come to the forest. The mission this time asked to kill the figure of cockatrice. After completing the mission, Yuki will immediately rank C. After finding out that he had a competitor to get Cecilia, Yuki is now working very hard. Yuki really wants to get rid of the distance between himself and the hero. Suddenly, Yuki heard something and immediately looked for the source of the sound, but somehow he seemed to recognize the figure in front of him. He also saw the power of magic emanating. A figure wearing armor greeted Yuki. The man was very surprised because that figure was his subordinate while in the Demon King's castle. Indeed, at the time of his departure, Yuki did not tell anyone. The subordinate was very happy to see her superior. She asked Yuki a lot of questions, starting from where Yuki's horns and wings went. She also asked why Yuki left without giving any message and what Yuki was doing on Earth. The subordinate called Duke that Happiness and Chick were also worried about Yuki. Yuki confirmed whether Happiness and Chick were also in the forest. Duke then invited Yuki to meet them. Happiness and Pixie Chick were very happy to see their boss still alive. They were all former subordinates of Yuki. Yuki asked how they were doing. Pixie explained that after the Demon King's death, they were all forced out of the castle. Pixie also told them that Duke kept crying and mentioning Yuki's name many times. Duke was embarrassed and asked the little girl to stop talking. Yuki didn't expect that his subordinates would be worried about him. Happiness said they were confused to find the captain's whereabouts because their captain was famous for always being alone. The former subordinates asked what happened to the captain's horns and wings. Yuki replied casually that he had broken them. The three of them were silent because they didn't expect the captain to do that. But Duke suddenly shouted, "Why did Yuki do that?" Pixie, who saw Duke's reaction, laughed out loud because finally the man showed his true nature. Yuki was confused about how to explain to his subordinate. He then explained that he shot a priestess for the hero party and was now a human. Duke did not expect the captain to be willing to do that for a woman. Duke also said that the captain was very pathetic. Yuki was amused at Duke's expression. Once again, Yuki emphasized to Pixie, Duke, and Happiness if he was just an ordinary human and no longer the captain of the three of them. Duke felt unacceptable to reality. He still wanted Yuki to stay on their side. The Duke wondered if the girl the captain liked was so tempting that Yuki decided to become human. Pixie replied that the priestess probably had a big chest, which tempted the captain, while Yuki was just astonished because the three of them didn't listen to his words at all. Suddenly, the three of them said that they would love to meet the girl that the captain liked. Yuki really couldn't stand the attitude of his former subordinates. He even called the three of them insane. Finally, Yuki said goodbye to the three former subordinates to complete the mission. The three people invited the captain to leave, but they still wanted to follow Yuki. In order to show their loyalty to the captain, the three subordinates decided to disguise themselves. Duke tied his armor helmet so her head wouldn't fall off. While Pixie is a small child who actually has wings, but their size is very small. But Pixie can hide them under clothes so they won't be seen. While Happiness is one of his subordinates who worries him. Happy had a lot of feathers on her hands and feet. Because when he was a demon, Yuki was worried about how Happy would disguise herself. She then decided to pluck all the hair so as not to create suspicion among humans. Finally, the mission to complete the quest was completed, and it turned out that during the mission, Yuki was assisted by his three subordinates. And now they all returned to follow the captain to the mansion with the disguises they had done before. After arriving at the mansion, it turned out that Happiness told Cecilia everything that her feathers had been plucked out. Cecilia said Yuki was outrageous to do that to a girl. Cecilia hugged and calmed Happy. Meanwhile, now Yuki can only kneel and regret his decision. Then Yuki's three subordinates introduced themselves to Cecilia. Cecilia said that it seemed like those three people really liked the captain. Yuki said that Duke used to be a person who rarely spoke, and somehow she suddenly changed. Duke explained that he didn't like the captain at first because the captain was very famous in the Demon King's castle. Cecilia didn't understand what the Duke meant. Duke explained that the captain used to always confine herself and rarely came out of the castle. The captain also once told someone named Ezekiel if he would never leave his room at all. Yuki was very embarrassed and asked Duke to stop talking. And when Duke became his subordinate, she tried to attack the captain, but finally ended up becoming the current Duke. Cecilia then asked, how was Yuki's meeting with Schick and Happy? But suddenly, Yuki realized that the two children were not in front of him. Now, Yuki felt very worried, because even though they were disguised, there was still a possibility that something bad would happen. The captain tried to find his men. He found that Happiness was being taught to be a good servant by Sophia. Yuki immediately approached her and said that Happy was his subordinate, while the butler said that he thought that Happy was a new servant sent today. Finally, Yuki pulled Happy's hand. Now he had to find Schick because he knew that the boy had a very high curiosity about many things, and that made Yuki very worried. It turned out that Schick was being held by Celia, who was sitting in her garden. Celia was surprised by Yuki's arrival. She confirmed to her future son-in-law who the girl was behind him. Yuki said that Happy was just her friend. Yuki asked if Schick had bothered Celia, but Celia stated that she really liked children, and Schick didn't bother her at all. Celia saw Schick running around in the park and decided to play with him, but due to exhaustion, Schick ends up falling asleep. Yuki asked Schick to wake up and greet Celia. Celia smiled and waved. After that, Yuki talked to his three subordinates, whether they were satisfied seeing Cecilia and her family. The captain made sure that his three subordinates would not follow him, but in unison, they said that they would follow Yuki. Yuki didn't have the strength to fight against his subordinates. He decided to finally take his three subordinates. In the end, Happy worked under Sophia to become a servant at the Cecilia mansion. The next day, Yuki came back to the mansion because he got a call from Celia. There he saw Happy, who looked cocked to be a servant. Celia came to see Yuki in the living room. Celia asked Yuki to accompany Cecilia to go for a walk. Celia said that her daughter looked very tired because she received a lot of party invitations and had to take care of the marriage proposal. So, the mother wanted her daughter to go enjoy some time to relax. Celia also mentioned that her daughter was still a young girl, so she must also like to shop and go for walks. Therefore, Celia asked Yuki to accompany Cecilia today. In Yuki's view, this request was a date that got the blessing directly from the girl he liked. Eagerly, Yuki accepted the request. The man said that he would meet Celia's daughter anywhere. Celia knew that Yuki would immediately accept her request. Therefore, Celia had prepared a carriage for the two of them to go sightseeing. Not long after, Cecilia appeared with a very beautiful appearance. Especially today, Cecilia used glasses and also a hat, adding to the cute impression of Cecilia. Cecilia greeted Yuki and apologized for making the man wait. Of course, Yuki replied that it was not a problem for him, because at this time, Yuki was already very fascinated with the girl's beauty. Yuki then asked Cecilia if he also needed to disguise himself now. Cecilia stated that it seemed like Yuki should wear a hat and also glasses, because it would be a problem for both of them if Cecilia was caught walking with Yuki. The man complied with the girl's request, and immediately invited Cecilia to leave. Cecilia smiled as she said that she was counting on Yuki. First, they went to a shopping center. There, Yuki and Cecilia tried on tons of clothes. Cecilia said that she felt very happy because she could release stress. Hearing that, Yuki felt very happy. Cecilia then invited Yuki to go to an accessories store. Yuki enthusiastically agreed to the invitation from the girl of his heart. But what they both didn't realize, there was someone who noticed their existence. While walking around enjoying her day off with Yuki, someone noticed Cecilia's presence. The person called Cecilia's name very loudly. Cecilia was surprised and immediately covered her face with a hat. Meanwhile, Mikana immediately smothered Yuga's mouth. Mikana told Yuga, even though Cecilia was in disguise, it would be dangerous if Yuga called her very loudly because people could realize. Yuga immediately approached Cecilia and apologized for his actions. Yuga then invited Cecilia to join together with the two of them, but Cecilia refused because she was already with someone. Yuga suddenly pulled Cecilia's hand and immediately invited her to go to the accessories store. Yuga said that he would also go to that place. Cecilia could not refuse the invitation and was forced to follow Yuga. Meanwhile, Mikana felt very upset because today she should be alone with Yuga. Yuki knew that Mikana must like Yuga the hero. Mikana, who realized Yuki's existence, immediately asked if the man liked Cecilia. Mikana also confirmed, surely now Yuki and Cecilia are dating. Mikana asked Yuki to try his best, because according to Mikana, Yuga will definitely give up. But Mikana said that she also couldn't expect much from Yuki. Casually, Mikana said Yuki had a mediocre face and would find it difficult to compete with Yuga. Mikana then invited Yuki to immediately go after Yuga and Cecilia. Not long after, Yuki and Mikana had followed in. Cecilia, who saw Yuki's arrival, apologized for entering first. Yuki said that Cecilia should buy something while she was in the accessories store. Yuga also looked excited. He said he wanted to buy something for Mikana and Cecilia. Yuki felt very upset to hear that. Yuki tried to choose a pretty necklace for Cecilia. Cecilia tried on Yuki's necklace and she really liked it. But suddenly Yuga also appeared and asked Cecilia to try on the necklace he chose. Mikana and Yuki looked annoyed at Yuga. Cecilia saw that the necklace chosen by Yuga had a lot of gems. Cecilia became doubtful about Yuga's taste. According to Cecilia, not all luxury items have a good appearance, but Yuga continues to force Cecilia to try it. But apparently the necklace actually hit the glasses worn by Cecilia, and made the glasses finally fell off. Yuki was surprised and called Yuga very stupid. The people in the accessory store became aware of the existence of Cecilia and Yuga. Yuki pulled Cecilia's hand to go hide. Finally, the four of them decided to separate because of Yuga's carelessness. The next day, Yuki went to see Cecilia at the mansion, but the mother said that her daughter was sick. Yuki was shocked and felt very guilty. Celia said that this was not Yuki's fault because Cecilia only had a mild flu. The mother also said that she was the one who asked Yuki to take her daughter out for a walk. The mother also told her that Yuga came to the mansion and asked to be allowed to take care of Cecilia. but Celia sent him away. Yuki was even more surprised to hear that statement. He didn't expect that the hero was trying so hard. Yuki said that yesterday's incident was a big disaster and made Cecilia very uncomfortable. But the mother said that her daughter was happy because Yuki tried hard to make her daughter enjoy her day off. While smiling, Celia said that if there was another chance, she would ask Yuki for help. Celia also invited Yuki to go see Cecilia. Yuki finally came to see his idol. There, Yuki apologized for ruining Cecilia's day off yesterday. Cecilia stated that it was indeed Yuki's fault. Yuki bowed down and once again apologized. But Cecilia said that the next time Yuki should be able to make her happier. Yuki's face turned red because he saw the beautiful face of his idol. He also thought whether this was the second date that was approved by his mother.